Anything that excites me for any reason, I will photograph. Not searching for unusual subject matter, but making the commonplace unusual.
I see no reason for recording the obvious.
Hey, welcome to the Street Shots Photography Podcast. This is Antonio.
And this is Ward.
And this is episode 257 for the end of June 2026.
June.
257.
Wow. Going straight into summer. 257. It's an area code. It's a Canadian area code.
Is it a Canadian area code?
Well, yes, where? British Columbia. And fun fact
in British
Columbia.
Today
is its 13-month anniversary since it was born.
Of the area code?
Of that area code. It's a brand new one. Introduced in May 24th, 2025.
Are there that many people in British Columbia that they need a new area code?
A little more than 5.5 million people live there. So they have 5 other area codes. So it's another overlay area code, covers the entire province.
257, British Columbia. Where does British Columbia sort of start? And I mean that sort of in relationship to the United States. Like, where would you? Well, are the borders of the provinces broken up sort of like north to south? Are they like states that are kind of? So I don't have a map of Canada in front of me.
It's the West Coast, so it's a province that goes. Okay. So would be. It's about the size of California, Washington, and Oregon together.
I see. Okay.
All so right. It's
so that means Vancouver and
Victoria, Vancouver Island.
Yeah. Okay.
All the way up to Alaska, Yukon, Northwest.
I see. Okay. I've been to Victoria once.
It's lovely there. That's where my company's head office is in Victoria.
Is it? Okay. Well, I went there when I was visiting Seattle, and we took a ferry from Port Angeles to Victoria. Yeah, and it was a wonderful ride, and we only were in the city for less than a day. We went to the gardens there, whatever those gardens were called.
Bouchard Gardens, yeah.
Bouchard Gardens, yes. And we went to the miniature museum,
which
is not a very small museum. It's not a miniature museum. It's a museum of miniatures.
I see.
But there's a lot of teeny tiny things there.
Okay.
And they're a lot of fun. I loved photographing small things. So it was fun to go there and see tons of small things, like dioramas galore of
cute.
Didn't just have train things there. So
nice.
And then we had lunch at the whatever the dock area is where the ferry was.
Yeah, I don't remember any of that.
So. I don't know what it's called.
I drove there. The ferry I took was from Vancouver, so
yeah. So
I will visit soon.
Yeah, I have not been to Vancouver, so it's someplace I'd like to go. Anyway, British Columbia, welcome aboard. Thank you for your congratulations on your 13 months.
And they're hosting World Cup games, the World Cup soccer. So,
are they?
Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
So if anybody's in British Columbia, tell your friends about our show, because we're mentioning a lot and you're going to be watching.
Yeah, absolutely.
We're into it. You were telling me that you were spending some of your Father's Day watching.
I was watching World Cup. Yeah, Canada's coming along. They've made it to the knockout round. So they played Switzerland today, and they didn't win the match, but they have enough points in order for them to go to the knockout round. So they got out of the group. So that's great news for a minor football power like Canada. So I'm very happy to see them progress.
Canada's considered a minor football?
Yeah.
Really?
They're not. Okay. Well, you need to consider, France and England and Germany, Brazil.
So if Canada is minor, Spain. What is an American team? Like,
you got a bigger talent pool to pick from than Canada does. So, and one of the great things actually about the Canadian team is that there are a lot of immigrants, and it's also a great story too. So,
that's cool.
Very.
Have you ever photographed soccer?
I did in high school. I don't think I have since, but I could. I could.
So can I take a minute to tell a story here?
Sure. Isn't that what the
soccer.
preamble, what this part
The
of the show is all
preamble,
about?
yes, that's what we're still
Let's
in.
tell our story time.
Story time. Well, I think the last time I photographed soccer was also just before high school, between junior high and high school. There was a program in New York State. Can't remember the name of it now. I want to say the New York State something for the arts, whatever. And they were taking candidates to go to the campus, SUNY Buffalo, and we would be doing all sorts of media things, photography, filmmaking, and you had to sign up for this and get chosen. And I was picked for this. It wasn't hard, I think, to do that. And we went. It was a 6-week photography, camp, essentially, in SUNY Buffalo. So at some point during the 6 weeks, there was something called the Empire State Games, which was New York's version of the Olympics, New York version of the Summer Olympics. And so a small group of us from this program got picked to go and photograph the New York State, Empire State Games. And I can't remember where that was. It wasn't in Buffalo, so we had to go someplace. And we were like a little group of photographers. We got our assignments at the beginning of the day, what we had to go photograph. I remember photographing gymnastics. I don't remember a few other things. And then I remember with my friend and I, we both got tasked to photograph a soccer/football game in a sort of like a school field with bleachers, and then there was a tower where I think announcers were supposed to be, or maybe not even announcers, maybe engineers or something like that. I can't remember. So my friend and I got permission to, and it was a late afternoon night game, so the lights were coming on, and somehow we got up to the top of this place.
I sense a punchline coming here.
Yeah, it was, and I swear I'm not making this up. Although there's a part of me that feels like, did I dream this? But no, this happened. So we got up there, and as I was making my way to the edge of the booth so I could look out at the field, I tripped over a cable, and all the power went out. All the lights went out in the stadium. And at least, I don't know if it was coincidental, and I can't imagine that I actually pulled a plug that caused these lights to go out. But it was a heck of a coincidence.
Yeah.
And I don't remember a thing after that. I don't remember if we left or oh no, did I just do that? Did I do that? And eventually the lights came back on, and we because from up there you could see the whole field. We weren't on the ground photographing. I think we were going to go down the ground later. But yeah, so I did that. And this was, of course, the days before autofocus. So we were using the cameras that we had for school. So I don't know. I must have had my Pentax Spotmatic and a 50 and a 135 millimeter lens. And yeah, I don't have any other. And we had to give up the negatives too. The negatives were just like any kind of, photographer showing. The negatives weren't yours. You take pictures and you give them to the persons and stuff. But anyway, yes, I did cause the one time I was photographing soccer, I tripped and the lights went out. So very nice, right? Very nice. So, yeah. But yeah, I can imagine that it's not easy to photograph, just like any sport where things are moving around fast. So I have a lot of respect for anybody who does that. And
yeah,
have to have good autofocus and all that stuff. Yes. So
yes.
Speaking of autofocus, yeah,
yes.
I have a moment to complain. May I?
Okay.
It's my show.
Rant.
I can complain.
We're going from storytelling to rant. Let's go.
Well, I have a feeling you're going to join me in this.
Okay.
You're going to join me in this, right? And I don't know who's listening to the show who's a Fuji person. I love Fuji.
I'm wearing my hat.
Fuji.
You see my hat?
You've got the hat. Yes. If you're not watching us on video, he has got a hat that says Fuji X/GFX, Fujifilm. Right. A nice hat, which I want one. I love one. That's how Fuji we are, right? Fuji people. I don't know how many Fuji cameras I have. Dear Fuji, would you get your act together with the autofocus on the cameras? Please? Yes. I don't. And just to put this out there, if anybody who's listening to us, who's in one of the Fujifilm groups on Facebook, I hope you're not one of the people who told, I've had such vitriol one time when I posted up a question about why I was having problems. Why were there problems with my Fuji autofocus? And I was trying to photograph birds. So I'm using the AI that is in there. And inevitably I will put the target on a bird and the camera is out of focus initially, and I press down on that button and nothing happens. And it happens with every single Fuji camera I have hooked up to any of my lenses that I'm using that focus on. So it's not a hardware thing. I don't know how many pictures of birds that I've missed, but I've put that question up innocently on a Facebook Fuji group, and I got people. It was so bitter towards me that I had to take the post. I took the post down because I didn't want to hear any more of that stuff. And I didn't want to be dragged into a fight with somebody who I am just asking information. And apparently I'm stupid. I don't know how to use Fuji equipment, apparently, right? I'm like that. And other more, how do I say it? I want to say a family friend show, but I'm not going to say the things that people said to me.
Yeah.
Would you believe that? And this is all me trying to say, what is with Fuji and their
that Facebook
you know what?
group
Well, Facebook groups in general, I mean, that's people, the keyboard warriors, quote unquote. That being said, I feel like I have a valid complaint about, here they are saying, okay, well, we've improved autofocus on this, and I've got Dan Bailey's part of his, course on Fuji autofocus and stuff like that. I watched it. It made sense. I watched Paltatech and him doing all of this makes sense. And I get it. And I've set my settings in ways, and I've tried all these things. And there I'm pointing my camera at a robin. It actually wasn't a robin. It was something more unique that I was like, and I picked up the camera and I'm pressing it, half pressing it, and it doesn't even hunt. It wasn't even hunting. It just sat there blurry. And I was like, the bird is right there. It's filling the frame. Like it wasn't even, I probably should have turned the AI off because then it would have just let me focus on something. But, the AI and the bird is really good. It seems to follow the eye when it works. I've had it up to here. And for those of you who are not watching, my hand is above my head. All right. It's like, I've really had it up to there. It makes me want to get, a Sony. I don't want to spend the money though. I don't want to buy a full frame camera and the equivalent of a 1200 millimeter lens for a full frame. It's prohibitively expensive. But I know I know Sony's got unbelievable autofocus. It's like not even a question. Anyway.
And I know the principal argument for folks is you need to really be careful how you set up the camera for a given circumstance. Why didn't I have to do that with my 18-year-old Canon with the EF lenses? I didn't
Same
have
with
to
my
do
Nikons.
That. With the Nikons, exactly. So when you can get to that point, we can talk. But yeah, shooting the rodeo, man, I don't know how many. I just went to single point. And, I had the tracking on. The tracking did okay for a while, and I thought I was missing too many. I went back to the single point or adjusted that single point or the small zone because I knew where I wanted the animal or the rider to be in the frame and planted it there. And it followed fine if it was immovable. But yeah, the tracking and the actual acquisition, it's frustrating. It really is. So
it shouldn't have to be so difficult that we have to fine tune the settings that much, especially with older cameras that don't have AI that seem to work fine. Now they're not perfect, but I really never had that hunting or literally the camera sitting there not doing a thing. Yes, and the camera was on, thank you, and the batteries were charged. Yes, everything was working. The camera should not do that. It should at least begin to focus on something. I don't, back focus if anything, but show that you're doing something. Yeah, it is. And I don't know why there is such division with people about this with Fuji. Maybe you're right. It's a cult. Maybe people are just so enthralled by it. Like, just be like that with Macintosh people, Mac fanboys are just bent out of shape about anything. And, I was one of them too. So I get it. I think it's less so now these days, perhaps. But man, the Fuji thing is I just missed so many shots of birds in my backyard that were really potentially really nice. And, I had to finally take the camera and point it to the grass, get it to focus on the grass. And then I'd point up and then the bird was gone, by that time. So that's my complaint about Fuji. As much as I love them, they can be a real pain in the butt with their stuff not working the way they advertise, and they don't seem to be bent on fixing it anytime soon.
There's been astonishingly silent, I have to say.
Yeah, Yeah.
And I know Chris at Paldetech. I think he did a customer survey a couple of years ago that he sent to Fuji and came back. Things seemed positive. He was also asking for more frequent firmware updates and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And so, it just seemed like lip service, and it really, I don't know when the last time was I got a firmware update from Access 20. I think here in the last 4 months there was one. Anyway, I did apply it, but yeah, it's been very quiet. So
Yeah. Yeah.
in the meantime, they're going off into the GFX 100 RF and X half, and I'm afraid that they're diluting some of their effort. I mean, that's just the feeling, but I don't know. I hadn't heard anything, but
yeah. And sorry for anybody who's not Fuji people. I mean, you're probably getting a good laugh out of this.
yeah.
If you're Sony or Nikon or
Too bad. So sad for you. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. But what I did want to talk about, sorry, this is a Fuji thing again, so excuse me. You can always fast forward this. Is that I've seen a couple of applications on iPad and iPhone for specifically creating Fuji film recipes and uploading them directly to the camera. And I'm not sure what has changed in the recent past with this. Maybe it was a firmware update. I don't know. Someone could tell me or figure it out. But these apps did not exist when the cameras first came out, where you could dial in the film recipes. And now there are these apps. One is, I have it on my iPhone, even though this is for iPad, but it's also for iPhone, where you connect the camera, the newer cameras, to the phone or the iPad with USB-C, and you alter the settings in the camera to like process RAW. So if anybody doesn't know Fuji, they have a RAW processing engine built in the camera. They also have software called Fuji Studio, I think, which will let you reprocess the pictures on the computer. But the weird thing is you have to have the camera that photographed the picture tethered to the computer. In that case, the computer is actually using the raw processing engine built into the camera to process the pictures. So people are leveraging that technology to to be able to upload and pre-position the film recipes in the camera, which is really cool because to set up a film recipe, or let's call it a picture profile in this sense, also in the camera, if anybody knows this for any camera, it's a real pain in the butt, right? And how do you back them up and how do you share them with people? Well, these apps now let you do this, right? So now I can create a film simulation using my phone and seeing sort of what it might look like, or at least if I was copying a recipe from some other website or something like that. And then when I decide to plug in my XT5, I can upload those right away to the different custom settings. I can also download the ones that are on the phone and save them to a preset library. So I've started to see, I think, 2 apps. One's definitely an iPad one that lets you process, also like you can on the computer, but process Fuji RAW files on an iPad. And then there's this other one on the iPhone, which lets you save the recipes as well. So
cool.
I'll try to put those in the links in the show notes for anybody who's interested to see those. But I think that's one of the reasons why you and I like Fuji, and the people that we know like Fuji, is because of these film recipes that we dial in. Although I know you've been lately, you do raw files and then you process a computer. But you were telling us last week about the Tri-X
stuff on this camera right here. It's a
XC3,
the black-bodied XC3, and I have a 7 Artisans 35 millimeter f1.2. Nice little gem of a lens, actually. It's a very,
and so
very sharp
how's that
unit.
going with the Tri-X?
It's going slowly. So I'm finding situations and subjects that give it that silvery, that will produce a kind of a silvery looking Tri-X look. I can't just go out and walk and do street work. Well, I guess I could, but the hit rate would probably be pretty dismal. But as I have this camera with me in my backpack when I go to work and run errands on the weekend and everything. Every now and then I just stop and take pictures up the side of buildings. I was in downtown Calgary here on the weekend, and I was shooting up. I was visiting the camera store, actually. And there's some buildings that have, concrete and glass and so on, and they have a nice sheen to them, just taking pictures of them. And they're as much test images as they are kind of artistic, but I got to start somewhere. And I'm starting to let go of the negative feelings. I'm just like, I'm just shooting this like it's Tri-X, and
well, the one
so
difference you have is that when you're shooting Tri-X for real, you don't see the results while you're shooting.
that's
You
true.
know, the Tri-X is you're sort of, I mean, you can imagine what it might be like, but everything is done in the back end. And here you're looking through the electronic viewfinder or the screen and you're seeing what it looks like right away. Do you
Yeah,
think that's having some effect
absolutely.
on what? Yeah.
Well,
Okay.
but even when I was shooting Tri-X and I had the darkroom, I was printing, and there's some manipulations I make when I was printing. Here, it's really relying on my viewfinder and my black and white viewfinder image,
Right.
because I intend to use these pictures straight out of the camera. I'm not going to manipulate them, and I'm not going to manipulate a JPEG very much in Lightroom. So whatever I can get straight out of the camera, then that's what I'm going to do. And that's part of this exercise is, working with the limitations. And like I said before, it was like letting go of my ego, that it was all about my post-processing. And this is kind of trying to tamp that down. And I think that's good. It'll make me a little bit more precise shooter, or at least think that I can be a little bit more precise shooter in the moment in terms of exposure, mostly, where I kind of, when I've got raw, I've got all the exposure latitude I would need. Here, I got to be a little bit more careful and either shoot manually or shoot shutter priority, or I guess I have to make it aperture because I've got a manual lens on it. So it's either aperture priority or manual, and just work with it. Yeah, it's
Well, two things. First of all, would you recommend people to do this? Maybe not
absolutely.
Tri-X, but with some other.
Yeah, pick
Yeah.
pick your recipe or your film simulation, and go. And I'm fortunate is that I can set aside a body to leave it in this mode all the time. So I just have it with me all the time. And if I see a subject that I think it might work, then I'll use it. And then I won't learn all the lessons from it until after I, bring the pictures into Lightroom and review them more carefully. But I think in terms of shooting, I'm already learning a fair amount about the precision of exposure and composition, and, just different way to experience the camera.
Are you shooting JPEG plus RAW or just JPEG?
Yeah, I'm shooting JPEG plus RAW.
So you're hedging your bets here.
I'm hedging my bet, but I mean, the whole point of it is to have the JPEG.
Yeah.
So, and that's fine.
It's not a criticism because I do the same thing as well. And the main reason I shoot JPEG and RAW on my camera is to have the raw file so I can reprocess it in camera if I want. So if I want to do a little quick adjustments, if I don't have the raw file, then the Fuji camera can't reprocess the picture. So I can always change the film simulator. I can, do
I
a
hadn't
little
thought of that.
Photoshop
I'm just hedging, like you say.
Well, yeah, for me, raw files these days are my backup that go onto my archive, and they don't really get used at all. And when I will do things like Frankenstein things together, so I will shoot with a film simulation and then I'll drop it in Lightroom. So I'm using the JPEG. So yes, I do process the JPEGs. I will drop it in Lightroom and then find another preset and add that to the mix. And it creates sometimes a very unique look to my pictures that I couldn't get just with one preset or one film simulation. So combining them. So I say Frankenstein because I'll come up with things that are like, oh, that's nice, and I'll keep that preset available and I'll keep that film simulation available. And yeah, maybe it degrades the image a little bit, in terms of, but I'm less hung up on that stuff these days, in general. So, but yeah, okay. So recommend that. I do have a camera I would like to set aside. I don't know if I do like to do Tri-X.
Well, no, Tri-X was just like,
yeah,
it was supposed to be nostalgic, but it's sort of like, well, I don't want to be the 22-year-old idiot I was, and this is what I was doing when I was a 22-year-old idiot.
Do you leave the ISO set to one number?
No, I let it float.
Okay, that's interesting. I know. It's just well, I'm just saying
because the
Tri-X is 400, right?
Tri-X is 400, but I'd have to probably shoot at 1600 or 2500 to get the grain.
Well, that would require you then to be pushing your film and processing, which is fine, right?
No, but just to get the look, like I don't care.
I see. Because
I'm just going for the look.
Yeah,
so
that's true.
And most of my pictures hit between 200 and 640 because I'm shooting outside all the time, and so it's picking a lower
I was thinking
values.
like the limitations of real film though. Like if you go indoors with Tri-X, You're looking at,
1/10 of a second wide open.
right?
Yeah.
Handheld. And so if you wanted to really do the film simulation, you would leave it at 400 or push it, to 800, whatever would be the equivalent of say 400.
Yeah.
Leave it at that and see what happens. But I would think 400 would be interesting because you're really then forgetting the grain structure. You're back to the time when you had a camera. Turn off the image stabilization. If you have a camera that's got image stabilization, turn that off. Like go full guns on that. And, I'm not sure I'm willing to do that.
There's nothing stopping me from doing it. Well, no, because then I can go full manual too. I'll set it for 400 or
put it a center weighted meter, right?
Okay.
Do a center weighted meter.
Yeah. Well, I just look. Well, I can make it center weighted meter, but I just look at the tones in the viewfinder.
Gotcha.
That's telling me where the exposure is really. But no, it's fun. It's fun with this manual.
I'm not telling
lens.
you what to do, by the way. I'm just
no, I'm just like, I'm defensive because I didn't think of any of this stuff. I'm just like, Tri-X, let's go. Like I didn't do any other setting.
Well, again, when I thought you might be doing, or thought you maybe you can also do that as well, because it's not.
Yeah, I can do it now. I can do it from now. Let's set it up right now while we're. Let's see.
Everybody, he's actually doing this live.
I'm actually doing this. I'm doing
recording.
it live on podcast.
Yeah,
I go to the menus. I go to, I got an ISO button here. Let's see. I got the button.
You have an ISO thing then. Oh my gosh, he's actually doing it.
Okay.
I have nothing to do with this. He's doing it on his own. You can see me if you're watching the
video. It's manual. ISO set to 400. There we go.
Okay. There's your challenge. I'd be curious to see next by the next recording what happens.
ISO 400 is plenty. I'll be fine.
Remember that it used to be plenty. Pushing your film too, pushing the film extra process. So when you're pushing your film, you're underexposing and then you're over developing.
Yes. Now I'm having a flashback of shooting the public figure skating at my home rink in tiny town in Saskatchewan for the Frosty Frolics Winter Festival, shooting the figure skating Frosty Frolics with the 135 2.5 on my Pentax ME Super. Love the camera, hated that lens, and I'm trying to get, with my Tri-X, trying to get pictures of those skaters who were like a half a mile away.
Yeah. I think,
and I am wide open and having to resort to a 30th of a second in a dim rink in a small town in the middle of nowhere.
You're describing not much more different than what I was doing in the New York Empire State Games too. At the top of that thing where I tripped on the cable to turn the light off. So
yes, the Takumar 135 f2.5. It was a piece of work, that lens. No, there are many of you out there that love it, and God bless you. And I'm sure a few still exist, but I will not touch one. It's worse than if it was radioactive. I think I would run away. Yeah.
Well, that
was some kind of nostalgia. Gonna have to shake that one off.
Great.
Okay. Where were we?
Back to the show. Right?
Back to the show.
Was that all the preamble?
I think that was the preamble. What are we looking at?
That's
an hour
half the
in
show.
now?
I know. Oh, we didn't put a timer up. Sorry, everybody. Our last episode got pretty long, but it didn't feel like that to us, right?
Just play it double time. I think,
Yeah, play it double time.
It takes half as long.
Half as long, yeah. Although we sound like Alvin and the Chipmunks. No, we actually
don't. We don't actually.
No, it's just
thanks to special digital signal processing technology.
Processing, yeah. So what did I want to talk about last episode? We had a lot of stuff in. If we had talked about this, we would have gone into 2 hours. But I recently purchased. No, I didn't really actually recently purchase. I recently opened a purchased book that I've had sitting on my shelf.
So many books you don't even open them when they arrive.
I don't even open them. Yeah, this one was. Man. This one was a book, an Edward Weston, the 60th anniversary edition. Although it just says Edward Weston on the cover. And actually, for the video, what I'm going to do for the video is I'm going to swap the video so people who are watching can see the book that I'm talking about on my desk. Let me turn off this portrait mode.
Now that's not that big stinky flower in the that you take pictures of at the botanical garden, is it? That's a shell, right?
That's a conch shell, right?
Yeah.
Beautiful book, Edward Weston. It's based on, actually, Edward Weston, The Flame of Recognition. His photographs accompanied by excerpts from the Daybooks and Letters, edited by Nancy Newhall. So this is a book I think was originally, don't know when it was originally published, but it was a while back. And this version of the book is really nice. I think 6571. So yeah, this version I've got here is 2025. So it came out, it's all these, it's not, if anybody knows anything about Edward Weston, which I'm beginning to learn more about, he kept what I don't know why they weren't called journals. He called them daybooks, right? This is all distorted. Sorry about this. Hang on. Let me see if I can change the camera angle. Sorry,
wow.
People who
I haven't seen those pictures in years. Wow.
There we go.
The paint on those clapboards and that fence, like,
yeah.
Wow. Forgot all about those.
Okay. I'm trying to, these are very distorted in the video, but at least you can see what I'm talking about. Edward Weston. I can't flip that so it doesn't get on YouTube. I can't show the nudes on YouTube. Right. That's his son right here, Brett Weston.
Who's a fine photographer and printer in his own right.
Correct. Just going through the work. This is one of my favorite pictures. This
Cherish Wilson
nude from 1936.
Yeah.
Just the way it is. And I can show this on YouTube because there's no bits shown on it. Anyway, I've always loved Edward Weston's work. I think when I talk about like people like Walker Evans and stuff like that, Ansel Adams, Weston is up there for me because it would be the kind of work I would have seen in museums when I was a kid. Sort of the Museum of Modern Art, most likely. There's the cabbage. There's his pepper number 30, which we may or may not have talked about a lot. I talk about this a lot in my class. Well, the first thing I thought about was the photo journaling that I do and journaling because of all this writing that I do about photography on my own. And here, when I actually bought this book, I didn't realize it was going to have his writings in it. And you can find his, there are places on the internet where I think the original writings are available, where you can find them. But he's well, I don't want to do all the talking. I don't know what you know about this, so I'm
well, no, I'm just discovering this and like having little flashbacks about seeing these images in books I used to have, or I think if there was an Aperture, maybe I have the Aperture Masters series book on Edward Weston, and if I do, it's just kind of out of my reach right now. I'll certainly grab it and take it upstairs and put it by my easy chair and go through it. But yeah, Edward Weston was what did they call it? One of the god photographers of the Southwest? Is that what
did you call him?
He was in one of the god photographers of the Southwest.
Photographers? What is that?
Yeah, so Ansel Adams, Imogene.
I
forgot what's her last name.
Not Cunningham.
Edward Weston, Imogene Cunningham. Thank you.
Yeah, okay. It's not all Imogene.
I can't think of any. Now it's left me. The part of the F4 group.
Right,
whose cut and thrust had to do with faithful reproduction of images through the camera, was a reaction to what was called the pictorial movement, which was photographers were kind of defensive about their work, and that the photography was akin to what we might consider medical imaging. It was a very extraordinarily detailed and off-putting kind of expression, and if you could scrape up the negatives or the prints or write over them or smear Vaseline on the lens or whatever it was to make things softer and more painterly. The F64 group was a reaction to that. And as I think you've read and in digests of stuff we've looked at of his journal, he was really railing against that. And a lot of his creativity was kind of proving to himself, I think himself more than his audience, that this was a thing. And we were talking before we started recording about how he created these images and kind of talked himself into this mode of work of being very faithful to, it was a straight photo that he'd take the negative and he'd just print the negative flat, which was opposite than what Ansel Adams did, which was all the creativity and, mathematical precision of a concert pianist using the zone system to create something he visualized in his head and produced it, where Edward Weston was get it figured out, get the exposure, get the process the negative, and just print the negative flat. Don't do anything with
But
it.
before he had this epiphany, wasn't he also doing kind of the pictorial style work or something?
His earlier
something
stuff
changed.
definitely
His
has
earlier
that.
stuff, yeah. Do we
No,
know?
I don't remember that turn. It's just a feeling I get going through the work. So if there's something that you read, I didn't.
I don't know
I'm not
specifically, but I
a
know
disciple of Edward Weston.
right. But
I
I'm
just
guessing
really like his work.
an F-64 club would come. I mean, obviously, it's a reaction to this earlier pictorialism style movement. I'm going to guess, just like, back then when photography was relatively young, that most people was like, oh, pictorialism, this is what photography can be used as. And everybody sort of dabbles in it, for a while. It's like back in the 80s when it was, what was it? Polaroid transfers, right? Became a thing. And everybody's doing Polaroid transfers. And they realized, well, let's get back to doing something else. You have a reaction to it. So I'm not aware of any of his photography, and I could be wrong, but I imagine that, to that if people have a strong reaction to something, they've tried the other thing. Maybe I could be just, guessing here.
Well, I mean, part of it, the stress would have been, and reading through the daybooks and what I understand of the daybooks, like he was really hard on himself. And so I could see, the stress of trying to rail against about pictorialism kind of weighed heavy on him. And it was a stress that we don't have now, because that generation, they were still trying to defend photography as an art form. Now, you can still meet people in the street or people who don't really study photography or art or whatever who would still say that it's not really, and fine, I don't care. It is to me. But I mean, Weston and his generation, man, they were fighting it like there was no way. I mean, painting is the thing, right? It's
Which is what pictorialism is, in a way. It was right? Is to sort of match photography to a painting aesthetic, right?
I think, like you said in the last show, like creating something out of nothing. Painting, you've got a blank canvas and you're filling it in with your brushstrokes. Well, photography was, no, you take the picture, it's all captured, and look, there's nothing left to do. Where's the artistic aspect to it? So, so that's what those guys were after. And so I could see a guy like Weston, and what I understand of his character, really digging in and creating work that, basically he lays it out there and says, see, like, this is beautiful. Pepper number 30, right? I mean, come on.
Well, there's sort of an irony in this, right? In the sense of like moving away from a pictorial style of photography and saying, well, I'm going to do photography on objects and make them look like what they are. Like, this is a pepper, this is a toilet bowl, this is whatever. And in the end result, they end up making something more artistic than, or equally as artistic as perhaps the pictorialists were doing, right? So he's going out to make something straight, like Ansel Adams is trying to, they record all these tones of the zone system of, El Capitan or something like that, and ends up creating a work of art that's like, I almost want to say it's what they're fighting against in some way, right? By photographing, not fighting against, but sort of reaction.
Different
to
point
this.
of view. Well, I mean, both Ansel Adams and Weston, used, let's say, 8x10 cameras. I mean, they used different ones too, but I think Weston mostly used 8x10s. And their attitude to processing couldn't be more different, right? Like I just alluded to, like,
right.
And I mean, to each his own, right? It's not, for guys like you and me, it's not a fight anymore. It's, you're the artist. You create the image however you like, right? But the stakes seem to be really high in those days, and it's kind of, well, fun is maybe not the right word, but very interesting to see how these art photographers were defending themselves against whatever pressures they had going, not only in art culture, the art scene, but against each other.
That's true. Yeah. We owe them a debt of gratitude too for going through all that, because we're not having to fight that fight now that photography is not an art form, right? They're the ones on the front lines for doing this. But there was something that I was reading in his writings, in the summaries of his stuff, that you once alluded to, I think, bunch of episodes ago about some work you're doing, and
Yeah.
the thing itself, that was a phrase that came in, and he wrote something. I'm just going to read this. The camera's true purpose is to record life by capturing the quintessence of the thing itself. He didn't want to impose his own ego or interpretation on a rock or a pepper. He wanted to reveal its basic, absolute reality so clearly that it amazed the viewer. So I'm going to admit this. When you first said this for some other things that you were doing, I can't remember what it was, or it's an ongoing thing
Well,
that
it's
you
my
do.
hometown. I went to my hometown.
Your hometown, exactly.
It was a hot day, and I had my cell phone with me, and I was taking pictures of cars parked in buildings.
Gotcha.
And I tried to imbue a very central, the subjects were kind of dead center in the frame, and it was just, look at this thing. And that was the point of the picture.
Right. Okay, the thing itself, I as much as I nod and say, okay, I get it, I don't 100% get it, right? And so maybe you can fill me in on this and link it back to Weston in a way, by way of your own work, and maybe try to explain this to me again, because it feels very fundamental. Again, I mentioned to you, I'm teaching a photography class in 3 weeks from today, actually, it starts. And this is the kind of thing I want to put in there if I think it is what I think it is, because it seems very, correct me if I'm wrong, but this seems very freeing for a photographer who's just beginning, right?
Okay.
Or a photographer who just wants to explore photography. This seems like, I don't know. It seems like there's some, you know where I'm going, right? With
I know where you're going. Okay, so let's see here. Yeah, the thing itself. So what was I trying to do by taking these pictures of this Lincoln Continental that had the flat tires that was parked and it had all the bug guts on the front or whatever. So I did take the picture with the phone, but I was really careful with my processing, and it was a typical word processing where it was a little on the light side, and then I had what I call my glowy whites, right? I kind of jack up the curve a little bit on the highlights so that the white, if there's any white, it blazes in the frame. And so it's a picture of a car, the car. You're just looking at it. There's no other purpose for you to do when you're looking at this picture than to look at that car. You get to stare at it all day long. Like you're saying in the last show about the rodeo picture, how you you could stare at this picture for however long as you wanted. And I kind of wanted to make the picture about that. There's no real story other than that the thing is existing, and it's put in a context where it's safe or whatever for you to just stare at it for as long as you want, forever, or the next 2 seconds, whatever it is. It's a context to make the photo around just that thing. And I think pepper number 30 of Weston's does that perfectly. You recognize it as a pepper, but just in its kind of beauty and, I guess you could say, human-like form. I mean, that's a leap that just about everyone is going to take when they look at it. But it's not taking away from that's what this pepper looked like. And there's this whole story in the books about in the writing or in the Daybooks about his obsession and the way he had to set things up, the scenario he had to set up in order for the lighting to be absolutely right. He's providing the conditions for you to stare at this pepper and make it interesting and valuable in your sight for as long as you need. One kind of example that's sort of similar and what kind of abuses the reflex in people who go through advertising is if you have, the quote unquote pretty girl who stares down the barrel of the lens, right? When you're looking at the model in the photograph and she's looking at the lens, well, our brains are wired to say, well, this is a person who's looking directly into my eyes and I'm looking directly into hers. And you don't do that in normal. That's creepy if you do that in real life, right?
Right.
But you're caught by this simulated experience of you staring into a, quote, attractive person's eyes or whatever. And that's kind of along the same stream of whatever I'm trying to say here, that there's this, the quintessence of what a thing is, right? What he's trying to say. I guess that's really all I really was thinking when I was taking those pictures was this. You get to look at this thing. It could be a plain thing, could be ornate. doesn't matter. It's just staying its existence, and it's up to the photographer in this kind of work to present it so that as a viewer, you are consuming it as you can love it, you can hate it, but it's there in front of you for your whatever viewing pleasure, your evaluation, your whatever your perception is as a viewer.
So I'm imagining on a lot of people's camera rolls on their phone, they'll all have pictures like this, but they weren't aware of this concept of the thing itself sort of overtly. It's like, I see this thing, I've got my camera with me, which is my phone or a camera. I take a picture of it, and, maybe I'm taking a picture to remind myself of what it is. It's an object, it's a detail of an object. A lot of that could be construed as the thing itself, kind of like, or is it a mental attitude that
Well,
you
I
need
know. I
when you're
think,
making the picture?
yeah, when I'm making the picture, there's an intention, right? I mean, part of art is intention. The main part, I think maybe that's all of it, is what is your intention with the thing, with the thing itself. Yeah, I think there has to be an artistic bent definitely to it for you to, I mean, you're taking a picture of a broken toilet valve that you have to go to Home Depot to get a replacement part for.
Well, yeah,
That's a little bit different, but that can be art too. Like, I mean, then you go, like, oh, okay, that is interesting.
we'll do something enough times, yeah, and it'll become art, right?
Yeah.
Uh,
But I mean, I really think that, anything's possible, but the real value of this is the artistic intention that I mean, you look at Weston's effort for that pepper number 30. It's not the 30th pepper. I think it's the 30th frame maybe that he shot. Who knows?
Well, yeah, but
Well, I'm trying
okay,
to, where did the 30 come from?
no, I know, but skip that for a second. I want to go back to this thing because I photograph a lot of things that I see, and it's not to go to Home Depot to remember what they are. It's because they attract me, and I have my camera with me, and the light is a certain way, and it's doing this thing, and I take a picture of it, and I'm like, well, what am I going to do with this? And I don't do anything with it. And is that sort of a hidden version of taking a picture of the thing itself? Maybe, or am I pigeonholing, like, or not pigeonholing, like sort of forcing that idea into the picture after it's done? Or is that something that exists while I'm taking the picture? This is where I get confused, because I've taken pictures of cars, details of cars, and with bugs on them, and like you did, but I wasn't thinking of what you're thinking about. If you put the two pictures next to each other, they'd probably be like, okay, they're similar. But is this thing the intention of the photographer making the image? And then what difference does it make? Because when you present it to somebody, you're not there to say, hey, I'm taking a picture of the thing itself.
Well,
or is it up to
that's the
them to
thing.
interpret that? And so where is it on the spectrum of this?
Well, I'm just gonna hedge here and say whatever you say it is. So I have an album on Flickr or SmugMug called The Thing Itself, and that's where those pictures go in. Maybe it'll be
Is it a
book.
public album?
It'll be, it's unlisted, so I would probably just send you the
Okay.
link.
Okay.
I don't think there are many in there, but I mean, I could certainly shovel a few more pictures in there of stuff where I've had
Would
that.
you be willing to
kind of
share
intent.
it with everybody, or is that just a place that's on?
Well, I'll check the state of it first.
All right. Okay. Well, so we won't say we're putting that in the show notes until
Yeah.
we actually do.
Yeah.
All right.
So
Or maybe a new gallery that's got some.
Yeah. Or yeah, I can. Yeah. I have no
'Cause I'm
problem
curious-
sharing it.
I'm curious about your interpretation of this, and like I said, I want to learn it. And I want to understand what makes that important. Now, of course, I look at pepper number 30 in this book, and I can't help but see a work of art. Like, that is whatever he was doing, and he in his writings, he understands what he's getting. Like, he knows he's getting
Yeah.
something
Yeah.
that's beyond just a picture of a pepper. But there's something that I feel like I'm still missing. Like, there's a gap between, like, could I make a pepper number 30? And not that I'm trying to copy it, but like my version of a pepper number 30, could I do that? And what would it require me to do to get to that point where I understand what I'm photographing is now no longer, I'm not trying to interpret it my way. I'm trying to show what it is, and it becomes something beyond what it is. Right?
Right.
That's what I think the pepper number 30 is. It is a pepper, but it's beyond, like, anybody who looks at it is going to interpret it. There's a million ways to interpret that
Right.
image.
But it's
A lot
also
of it has to do
Edward
with-
Weston.
Yes.
So if
Anyway, I'm not sure
talk
if I'm
about
answering.
Winogrand. I want to like take pictures like Winogrand, but I won't. I have like little homages to him, but you know,
Well,
if
I
I
don't want
take
to
a
take
picture of
pictures
the
like I
car,
don't want to take pictures like Weston. I want to take pictures like me.
right, which
But
you're
like
doing,
no, I know, but like that's what you're doing with your things themselves. You're doing your thing. I just want to know like what it is. Like I don't know what am I
okay.
trying to
So
say.
there's one picture that I bring up again and again of yours that I think
Okay,
epitomizes this, and that's your cow.
the
Now,
cow.
you got a picture of a cow. I don't know if you were in upstate New York or
Well,
one
the
of
one
your
in
trips,
Connecticut. It's just
or
a shot of a
Connecticut,
cow.
of a
Yeah.
cow. That just the way it is, it's looking at you, presumably, I think, if I remember. And there's this greenness around it. And there's a kind of, it is elevated. It feels to me like it's a work of art.
Huh.
And
Really?
it says, I mean, I look at it, and I've been around a few cows, and what it does, now that didn't come out right, but you know what I mean. It's sort of like the cow is what I'm getting out of it in a kind of a jokey way is, I am a cow. Look at me. Gosh darn it. You know, like it's got a, you know, and go back and look at that. And there's a gravity to that. There's a gravity to that picture. And it struck me the first time I saw it. Now,
that's interesting.
I tried to do a cow picture here in this last at that rodeo thing I went to, and it was through a fence. It wasn't quite the same. It was a steer. It was not as big an animal, and it was like his face was cut with the fence, and it was an homage to your pictures.
Okay, so to paraphrase you a little bit here, how about this? If I can look at a subject, say the cow, right, and in my mind pretend I'm the cow saying what you just said about a cow. Hey, I'm a cow. Look at me. And then photograph that. That is getting towards this thing itself. So what you're looking at the car, you're imagining the car saying, hey, I'm this Lincoln Continental and I got bugs in my grill. Look at me.
Yeah. Yeah, that's exactly what I'm trying to do. And the point, when you look at the image, you look at the frame, and because of my processing, presumably because the car was white, it glows a little bit. So I'm kind of jacking things up a little. There isn't any other reason
that the car
wouldn't mind that, even with the bugs. But it doesn't. There isn't any other purpose to look at that picture other than to look at it's a picture of a car. It's of this car.
So by extension, could we look at pepper number 30 and imagine the pepper saying, hey, I'm such a cool looking pepper. I even look like you people. Look at me. And you're going to look at me and you're going to think all sorts of things.
Yes. I think the pepper has a French accent. Just between you and me in the French Post, I think she has a Parisian French accent. I don't know. It's just a feeling I have. No, but it's.
I'm not trying to be silly about this. I'm also trying to get into the mindset.
I mean, we're talking about a picture of a vegetable, and it has so much meaning for millions of people have seen this image. It goes into books. It's like people, and it stops people cold. I mean, I don't know if you remember seeing it in the museum. People stand there and look at it. You stand and you look at it, and I mean, things go through your head or whatever, and you're having an experience of art, of a vegetable that Edward Weston's took a week.
Part of me that's
this is not coming. I'm sorry, man. I get it. I get it. Beer just before the show.
That's fine. You know what? Give me a second. I'd like to try to read without fumbling here. One of his entries in the Daybook, I'm guessing about the peppers in general. So if I don't flub it up, then it's okay. Actually, you know what? Let me put my glasses on, and then there'll be less of a chance of me flubbing it up, because I'll be able to actually read it.
That can't possibly be a word.
Yeah, well, there you go. Let's see. August 3rd, 1930, Carmel, California. Sonia keeps tempting me with new peppers. I'm just imagining the scene. Here's some peppers tempting. 2 more have been added to my collection. While experimenting with one of these, which was so small, I used my 21 centimeter Zeiss to fill the 8x10 size. I tried putting it in a tin funnel for a background. It was a bright idea, a perfect relief for the pepper and adding reflected light to important contours. I still had the pepper, which caused me a week's work. I had decided I could go no further with it, yet something kept me from taking it to the kitchen, the end of all good peppers. I placed it in the funnel, focused with the Zeiss, and knowing just the viewpoint, recognized a perfect light, made an exposure of 6 minutes. With but a few moments preliminary work, a real preliminary was done in hours past. I have a great negative, by far the best. I'm sure he's talking about pepper number 30. So I don't know how small it was, but and he talks about later about printing the peppers, you know. So he's been doing this for a week. He's searching for these peppers.
Yeah.
So yeah, I look at the pepper. I also look at, you know, if I'm gonna go further, he's got a photograph of a cabbage leaf as well. And it's the leafiest looking cabbage leaf I've
It's like
ever
a
seen.
Savoy.
I don't know I don't know the kinds of cabbages they are, but yeah, it kind of looks like almost like a seashell or a dress of fabric, you know, is the way I would describe it. And then this famous, I don't see any of the pictures of him in here where he's done, when they talked about it it's in the writings about him photographing a toilet bowl. And how people would look at this picture of a toilet bowl. And it's not just the shot of the toilet bowl, it's the contours, it's the light. You know, it's not a toilet, it's become something else. And so that toilet, if we by extension give it personality, says, "Ooh, this is a very nice picture of me. I like it because I don't look like the object that everybody sees every day. I've become
Right.
something else.
Or
So
this is what I really am.
this is what I really am." Yes.
Yeah.
I do this other thing as my day job. And
It's a blankety kind of day job, but
right.
yeah.
But this is me. This is my essence. This is my form. That's interesting. So as an experiment, I'm wondering if we would look at objects or things and see the world from their point of view
From your
and
student's
how
point of view.
well, what do you mean by my student's point
Oh,
of
yeah, I'm
view?
sorry. You're talking about
No, I'm talking about the objects. I'm talking about
the
like
object's
you
point of
like
view. Okay.
the object's point of view, giving them. I mean, am I going off a deep end here, or is that just a way to because we're attracted to things. We're photographing things all the time. You're bringing your camera with you, your Tri-X camera. You're pulled towards things to photograph. What are you going to do with those pictures? You don't know. I think like to try to. This is not all about trying to teach my students because I'm also trying to figure it out myself. But the idea that there's some things that like we photograph, why do we photograph them? We don't know. Is it because we love the object? Are we attracted to it? Is it because the object is telling us, hey, look at me, I'm this thing, and I want you to pay attention to me because not only am I this, but I'm this, right? Actually, the pepper number 30 I used in my one of my other classes when I was in Brooklyn was like, you know, what is it, minor White's quote? Don't show me what it is, show me what else it is,
What
or
else it
something like
is?
that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, you know, in order to illustrate that concept with my students, I say, well, look, if I gave you an assignment to go photograph a fork, and I show them a picture of fork, and I said, you know, take a picture of fork, and someone puts it in front of a background and lights it. And I'm like, yeah, you've passed that is the assignment. But then I show them a picture of, you know, maybe Andre Cortez's fork on the plate,
Right.
or a fork.
Balancing.
Actually, I found this picture. I don't know who it belongs to, but they used a single light to make the fork look like a harp with the shadow. It's incredible. It's an incredible image, and I don't know who did it. And so I do that, and I say, or you could take a picture of a fork. Like, that's a picture of a fork, but it's also, what else is it? It's a harp. It's something else. And I said, oh, I could give you the example of go to the store and buy a pepper and photograph it. And I give them an example of a picture of a pepper in front of a modeled backdrop, right? I was like, yes, that fulfills the assignment. Or you can make a picture of a pepper and bring up Edward Weston's pepper number 30. And I usually leave that for the last of the examples. And the classes inevitably go, you can just hear them. And I was like, you can see what he did. You know, he's not just showing what it is, and he's thinking about it. He's paying attention. He's looking at the peppers. He's having a relationship with the pepper, is the best way I can say it, where the rest of us, we buy the pepper at the supermarket. We just go and grab a pepper and make sure it doesn't have any spots on it. And we put it down on the backdrop and we take a picture. And that's what the teacher told me to do, you know? Anyway, I I see this as a way for people who are just starting photography to access something like a. It's not only these guys who have lofty thoughts of art and big words like Edward Weston in his Daybook and stuff like that. Like the rest of us, we can get this somehow, and that's what I want to access myself as well. If I get access it myself, then I can tell people who I love teaching people who are just getting into photography. There's something that they're drawn to, and they want to take pictures, and they don't know how. And I'm like, you don't need a lot of equipment. All you need is a pepper
Yeah.
and a nice place with light and a desire to explore it for a while and not just take instructions by words and say, well, what else can I do with this? And,
Mhm.
spend a week with peppers or for whatever sake. Anyway, I'm sorry.
Yeah. No, no, it's the elevation of the thing itself.
So
It's
what's your, let's see, what would be your call to action, as it were,
my call to
for
action.
for
Or
for photographers who want to sort of explore this and take it for themselves as well, and then sort of waving my hand and me as well.
we're talking about the thing itself then here?
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah.
Well, find something you're interested in and shoot it. Like,
But
yeah,
approach it how? I mean, that's I could just walk out the door right now and take a picture. That's not quite
well, no,
what
you have
I'm.
to sit and think a little bit, or,
Okay,
you know, what is
expound
it
on
that
that a little
interests
bit.
you? Like, what interests you? Maybe you have a camera collection. Maybe you have one of your kids' toys, or maybe you have. It should probably be an inanimate object because it's going to be you're going to be putting it into a situation or whatever. Or if it's something on the street, you're going to have to go there and pick a time of day when you're going
Okay,
to go
can I
there.
pause for a second?
Sure.
Weston doesn't do that though. Weston has used the human body as well as an object.
Yes.
So you're saying maybe not use a human for this?
No, I guess not.
Okay,
No, I was just thinking, like, if you're going to be investing time in
okay.
documenting, for instance, a single thing,
Mm-hmm.
I think toys are very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
You find something that's got some detail in it and you can light it differently or whatever, and try and elevate it, try and make it something that is compelling for a viewer, that the whole point of the photograph is to look at this thing, is to look at this thing.
So sorry, and I hope you don't think I'm grinding you here a little bit. This is very exciting to me, so I get very animated.
Okay.
But like in the case that you did with the Lincoln Continental, the elevation was in the processing, would you say?
It was in the framing for sure
In
too. I
the
wanted to
framing.
make
Okay.
sure that I had put it in a very symmetrical kind of, you call it idealistic if you want. It was not like a three-quarter view. It was not like an ad. It was not like a car ad, right? It was just a kind of a dead straight on thing. Almost as if the car was looking at you with its headlights kind of thing. It was like
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
straight on. And the processing was kind of an enhancement of that, which I'm sure Weston would have not been cool with because he was very much about printing the negative. But I wanted to elevate this thing. So then I did my glowy processing, whatever you want to call it,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and to make it so that that image was
Okay.
just about that car.
Okay. Well, I think that gives me something to go on. So there's something, whether in the photography of it, the processing, if we're not just going by Weston's, just make a negative kind of thing, which I don't think we have to do in order to elevate an object. I mean, even in his case, he's kind of doing a manipulation by sticking the pepper into a funnel and doing a 5-minute exposure about it. So at f64, so he can get tons of, depth of field in it. And so one could argue about the manipulation in his pictures too. He's doing platinum prints, right? Or it's doing, so this is that argument. Like, where do you draw the line at like pure photography? Well, there is, it's like there really isn't, let's just say there isn't. That being said, in how you approach an object, how you think about it, how much time you spend with it, perhaps how you process it, and that you follow up in some way, whether it's with yourself or in some other way. I mean, I'm thinking about like if I took a shot of that, I might include it in my photo journal and talk about it. Like perhaps what Weston is doing with his his day books and writing about his process. That's all part of the thing. I mean, this book here exists with his words and his pictures together. Maybe he never intended those to go together, but here they are. And there's also an interesting thing that he burned like 3 years worth of his day books. He just threw them in the fire.
Ooch. Yeah.
But
well, I think he thought himself as a fraud. Like,
right,
he was trying to convince himself with his journaling that he was going in a direction that he found kind of not, what's the word? Not authentic.
Yeah. Well, when we journal and we tend to write of ourselves, that can come up a lot, and so it'd be interesting to do that, maybe do this essentially as a project in and of itself, to like have a sort of a day book and an idea of photographing things and elevating them and seeing what their story is besides them being whatever the objects they are. What else are they? So I want to like to tackle that. I don't know if this is going to be good for this class, but I might throw this in as a bit of, because I think it gives people hope. Not hope. That's not. Yeah. But I think it just makes the photography accessible.
Right. It was the word I was going to use, accessible.
Yeah. As an art form, and not like, well, I can't do that because I'm not an artist or whatever. Like, no, it just all depends on how you're looking at it and how your relationship is with the whatever it is you're taking a picture of. And you don't have to share that relationship with the world. It's not about, going on Instagram. We talked about this. It's not hero pictures, right? Your shot of, although Pepper number 30 is a hero picture.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I don't think it's a hero picture in the sense of he was looking for accolades. It was like he was trying to overcome something in himself to get this quintessential Pepper that, the nature was good enough to provide him. What if that Pepper was never made? What if, would he have done this? So there's a lot of things. So it sounds like there's more to this than just like, well, I'm going to take a picture of this thing and throw it on Instagram and see how many likes I get, which is not what you roll your eyes.
Well, no, it's like, that's not the point of that. I mean, I'm happy to put them up there because the images have meaning for me, and I think they might
have meaning for somebody else,
and
too.
might have meaning for somebody else, but I'm not posting them there for their reaction. It was just a really satisfying day, needed to go for a walk, hadn't gone for a walk.
I hope you're not saying that I'm not saying that. I hope you're not.
No. I'm just saying, I'm just enhancing the day that I decided to go down that road, literally and figuratively. It was a satisfying day, and it was a different experience of photography for a day. Magnifying the thing.
Right. Okay.
It was good.
Cool. All right. It's kind of the direction I wanted to go. I mean, we'll have to do a deep dive on Edward Weston. I would like to talk about him and his son. I'm really curious about that at some point.
Sure.
But there's a lot.
Do some reading too.
Yeah. I don't have any Brett Weston books. It's always interesting to me when a child follows in their parents' footsteps, does the same kind of thing, and maybe is as good or better, so. But Edward Weston is certainly up there and one of my favorite photographers, and I just love how the vast majority of his imagery is just so simple. I mean, I like to say that, but there's a lot going through it, and there's a lot of technique and stuff. So, but yeah, I think I'm good for now. We're getting someplace. So, all right. Well, not an hour and a half, but an hour 20 minutes. It doesn't matter.
We do what we can do.
We do what we do, and people listen to us because they like hanging out with us. And maybe one day we should do this live. Like, we could stream this and have people listen to us while we're talking. And if anybody's into that, let us know. We have the ability on the system I'm using right now, the Riverside. I can actually start a stream, and we could have an audience there, and we can have chats and stuff like that. So let's think about that. Let's put that in our to-do list. That would be kind of fun to have one of our regular shows as if we were in front of an audience of people. We'll see who shows up. We'll get 3 people who come, but that's fine. I don't care. 3 people's like over 5 people around the table.
Yeah.
All right.
Good.
So the world is looking for you where, my friend?
They're looking for me on Vero, Twitter, and Blue Sky at Rosin, at W Rosin Photo. On Facebook, you can find me at Ward Rosin Photo, and my website is rosin.ca. But where you're going to find most of my work is on Instagram at Ward Rosin Fine Art. And Antonio, where can we find you?
Great. Well, Blue Sky, I'm on AM Rosario, Instagram AM Rosario Photo. Remember to add the photo at the end. My website is amrosario.com, and on Facebook too. My name there is Rosario Photo. So a lot of Rosarios everywhere. And I would like to suggest that if you're listening to the show and you like us, subscribe to our Substack newsletter. I hear we have an article waiting in the wings
by the time this show drops, it'll be up.
Yeah, so we'll have another article coming out. And thank you for all the new subscribers. If you're listening to the show and you're subscribed to us as Substack, thank you very much. Tell your friends about us. But you can find us at streetshots.substack.com. And if you want to, throw us some chump change, you can buy us a coffee at buymeacoffee.com/Antonio Rosario. Help be an honorary producer for the show. Get us some Java juice for an evening. And I think one of the best ways to support the show, if you want to, is try to maybe look at our print shops. And if you want to buy a print, come to our websites. Ward, I think your website is rosin.ca/shop.
Yep. And I did put up that cowboy picture.
You put up the cowboy
picture? You like? It's up there.
Really? Okay. Well, that's available.
Yeah.
And my website is, once I find it, hang on a second. It's the wrong site. Hang on a second. It's there. amrosario.com/print-store. So you can find our prints available there. And I just actually put up 3 new images of the big boy 4014 steam locomotive up there. X? Yeah, it's an X. There's an X in front. Just on the intersect. Yeah. Anyway, support our show, support us by buying some of our artwork. So we appreciate that. And other than that, I'm done for the evening. How about you? We're done.
Me too. I think the beer's kicked in.
Beer's
fully
kicked in.
Manual on my black XE.
All right. I might have to do that too. I might have to try my version of it on my X Pro 3 or something like that. Just have a camera.
And I have the weekend to myself this weekend too. So
Okay.
I might.
All right. Well, there's a cars and coffee thing going on here in Lincoln. It's a lot of fun old cars, modified cars, stuff like that. And my friend's going to bring out his little Datsun. The
Fair Lady 1600.
Yeah.
So I know of it.
So get some pictures of that too.
Cool.
So anyway,
very cute.
That being said, thanks for joining me tonight. I really appreciate it.
Always a pleasure. I like talking about this stuff.
I do too. There's more than enough to talk about. And well, I guess we'll see you in a couple of weeks, middle of July. All right,
middle
man.
of July.
Everybody else have a great evening and day wherever you are, and drop us a line if you can. But I'll bid farewell to everybody. Take care.
See you later. Good night.